I am in Cañas, Guanacaste, Costa Rica, and I'm going to show you probably one or two blocks that are along the Carretera, and we're just going to talk about landscaping, the vehicles, the components of the highway and the resultant open space that's created due to the highway, and then the life that is right at the highway in Cañas, and then the bus stops as well as the carts around the bus stop, the food carts. Hello, I'm in Cañas, Guanacaste, and I want to document that I'm here. The weather is just completely lovely. I went jogging in the morning before the sun came up, and the weather it just reminds me of Hawaii. It's just a very nice breeze. And then I realized that I forgot momentarily that Cañas is in Guanacaste, which is a blue zone. And blue zones are places on the earth where people live longer and they're just happier and stuff. So I'm very happy to be in Cañas, where it's a small town and there's just more space than people. So I'm finishing up my breakfast and I'm just happy because I got some pineapple juice and I'm outside. Coffee. And this is a gallo pinto with cheese and scrambled eggs. So anyway, when I went jogging this morning, I went to their big park, and I just can't believe the park has exercise equipment. It has a whole bunch of things, including like a sort of like a track and field. So I was completely delighted about that. The birds were around, and they're at the Central Park, the main park, as well as at the big recreational park. It's 7:30 now, and traffic is picking up just a little bit. But this seems pretty normal. It's like this almost during the day, and this is a Friday, and it's not a holiday weekend. There's nothing necessarily unusual about today versus another day. At least nothing unusual about this weekday. Left should be the municipal cemetery. What you see is basically one corner of the cemetery, and there's nothing else there as far as there's no other open space. It's just burial sites, and it's surrounded by a fence. And this is right along the Carretera, which is the Pan American Highway number 1. Straight up ahead, it's a blue building, which you barely can see because the sky is blue. It's one of the main supermarkets that is fronting the Carretera in Cañas. And right behind it, there's actually a Pully supermarket. But this supermarket is a little bit different because it's along the Carretera, so it has more visibility with the cars that go along. But the Pully behind it, it's just popular as a supermarket as well. What you see here would be the considered one of the main entrances to Cañas. If you had to go to the Cañas or go through it, this would be one of the places where you would enter to go through Cañas. To the right is it's like a traffic circle, and that's sort of a slight landmark for Cañas. And then if you take this road to the right, eventually leads up to go to Tilaran or Arenal. If you go from the high elevation places in Guanacaste, you come down. If you have to drive to Liberia, this is one of the places you would have to go through in order to go from Arenal to Liberia. And of course, Liberia is where a major airport is. uncommon sight. That should be, I don't know if that's an 18-wheeler. I would have to count the wheels again, because there are some trucks that are more than 18 wheels or slightly less. But those types of trucks are pretty common along the Pan American Highway. One of the charms of Cañas is it's very bicycle and motorcycle friendly. And of course, if something is bicycle and motorcycle friendly, it's probably car friendly as well. It's very easy just to pull over into a gravel road and then stop and get a bite to eat. And you can always eat at the restaurant like I'm doing here, or you just kind of hang out in your car, for lack of a better term. So it's a very easygoing lifestyle, especially for people who don't necessarily like to sit formally in a restaurant and they want to maybe just be outside and just enjoy the outdoors without necessarily dining in. It's a very ideal, easy lifestyle. So you can see all types of vehicles on 4 wheels or more wheels, but you can see all types of vehicles. And it's, in the distance you just saw a bulldozer go by. But the interesting part about this is that it's still, even though it sounds noisy, it's still not that many cars where you can't sit by a dining area and then just look at the cars go by. I think it's a very interesting number of cars to the number of people that it's still bearable to sit along the Carretera and look at the cars go by. What's lovely about this density is that things are still natural as possible, and still there are humans that are amongst the nature. So it's not humans or nature, or it's not just nature and it's not just humans, but it's a nice balance of the amount of shrubbery or green versus the built areas where there's human activity. As an architect, I've often wondered in my mind throughout my lifetime about how much open space or how much shrubbery, what is the ideal ratio of shrubbery to, or plants or trees to people. And this is one ideal. So the one ideal that I'm showing you is basically where the shrubs and the trees are not really maintained. They're not coiffed, and they exist next to places that are gravelly roads and open air restaurants. There's an asphalt main road. We know that the Carretera is likely a federal highway, and then you've got the secondary roads, which is to the left, and then you've got this gravelly parking lot. And so that combination is quite charming, and the tendency is wanting to pave everything over. But this is it's a nice mix of you see right here the federal highway, the secondary roads, and then the gravel driveway. It's a very charming mix of variety of roads. Blue collar landscaping. There's if you notice on the column, there's a plastic bag that's holding back the bougainvillea branch. And this is normal. It's nothing. Nobody's even going to blink an eye and point it out, I guess, except me. It's completely informal landscaping. Hi, so I am at, well, I'm still at the same corner. I just moved in a different spot around the circular roundabout. And behind me is this is actually the main bus stop from Cañas to go, if you wanted to take a bus, almost any bus from Cañas to San Jose. And so there are carts behind me at the bus stop, and some people just have coolers. And what I understand about those carts and the coolers is that they don't have a permit. Those carts are for the working class people, and because the income is so low and the profit margins are they're so low that the profit margins are negligible, it's that they're giving a service to the working class and nobody says anything about it as far as getting permits and concerned. But they're part of the landscape of the bus stop, because when you go to the bus stop, you can get a drink or you can get something as a refreshment before you get on the bus or after you get off the bus. Look at the blue store. I'm still just walking around the same area, but I wanted to show you some of these rocks that are underneath the Carretera, and they're fun because they look like just rocks, but people sit on them and they loiter. And I believe some people rather sit on those rocks than sit in a dining area, because it's just a very casual, open air atmosphere, and some people just don't like the idea of sitting in a dining area. I caught somebody that he's sitting on a rock behind me. Instead of just telling you, I'm showing you that someone is sitting on a rock. Closely, there's also a bicycle, so you can take a bike or a motorcycle and just sit down, park it, and then just sit next to the motorcycle or the bicycle and sit on a rock and just hang out. And it could be that I'm looking at this freeway. It could be that the space underneath it, the ratio, the portion, meaning the height to the width of the space that's left over it's a very nice space that doesn't create cavernous dark spaces. There's a bus stop in front of this building. Yeah, it's showing up, sort of. It's way in the distance, and this is the main bus stop in Cañas in order to catch the bus to Carretera. And okay, that's showing up better now. And so again, there are carts and people selling food at the bus stop, and there's also a person that is selling tickets. He is selling, the last time I remember, which was just a few months ago, it's like a printout, and you buy the ticket at the bus stop, and then they print it out, and you have this ticket over when you get onto the bus. So this would be the landmark of Cañas along the Carretera. So here's another example of the truck just pulling over and the two people are just sitting outside. And this gravel is just a lovely size type of gravel / dirt. It's just lovely because it's probably, I'm thinking it's not, doesn't have that many components where it's that dusty, but it's not completely gravelly that it feels like just gravel. So it must be a mixture of gravel versus soil. Rocks in the distance. It's in front of the building. Sometimes when you see rocks or certain objects that look very heavy, it's probably not feasible to move it, so it just stays there and becomes part of the landscape through time. And some of the things where if the object is very unusual, it becomes a museum piece, because one wonders, well, how did this thing get here in the first place and what is the story behind it? So here's the pulley that's off of the Carretera. It's about, I would say it's about, well, it's really just one block in, and then you've got the pulley. But one block is a big deal here because if you're one block in from the Carretera, people that are going on the Carretera won't see unless they know it's there, or unless they see a GPS. So one block in is very different. I mean, it's almost like if you're located along the Carretera, it's almost like it's oceanfront, because if you got a lot of cars going by, you're going to be able to see the things from the Carretera.